Good evening, Legionnaires. This is Mr. Hare here from the Burke and Hare House of Horrors. And tonight's latest movie review is none other than The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. If you've not done before, please hit that like and subscribe button, where we at the Burke and Hare House of Horrors team will do regular reviews. And, as I said, tonight is about The Devil Made Me Do It. This is the latest addition to the Conjuring universe, and the third installment of the Conjuring series as a whole. So, let's kind of get down to business and kind of get down to the basics. Did I like The Conjuring? The Devil Made Me Do It? No. Was I bored? Yes. So, let's kind of break it down a bit. The first Conjuring movie, fantastic, directed by James Wan, chilling, unnerving, great horror imagery, and a genuinely chilling, intriguing story. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren. They are perfectly casted, they have great chemistry, and they are believable as a couple. They're based on the true story aspects. Well, I suppose in history, the events might be kind of told slightly different. The Conjuring 2, again, based on the Enfield hauntings. The involvement of the real Ed and Lorraine Warren was merely superficial, so they were barely involved. However, in the movie, they were kind of firmly planted in there. I mean, as a movie, I love The Conjuring 2. Again, a worthy follow-up, generally chilling, and the nun the nun was introduced and was definitely one of the most chilling villains of horror history in quite a while. Shame she was let down by her own movie. But we'll kind of ignore that part. So let's get down to business for The Conjuring 3. So, what worked and what didn't work? So, for what worked, Patrick Wilson and Vera. They are absolutely solid in the role of Ed and Lorraine Warren. As I said, they've got the perfect casting, the perfect chemistry. It's their chemistry alone that kind of carries the movie, proving that they are the heart and soul of the franchise. What I also liked was the fact is they tried to do something completely different. Instead of following the same haunted house routine, they kind of took it out of the haunted house and kind of made it more open and kind of did something completely different, which I respect from trying to do that. But that was all that kind of worked. Now let's get down to what didn't work. So let's get straight off the get-go. The jump scares. They've become quite a staple for the Conjuring universe, where predominantly, Annabelle, the Nun, the Curse of La Llorona, Annabelle Comes Home, sounds like a Lassie movie. They've kind of, predominantly relied on jump scares as their main quota to kind of frighten the audience, whereas the first Conjuring movie kind of relied on performances, genuine chills. And when they did have a jump scare, it was done right. But the Conjuring 3 jump scares, they're very predictable. You know they're coming straight away. There's that build-up, and, you turn away, and it's a false jump scare, then suddenly, boom, it's right there. You're almost sitting there in the audience going, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bleh, and not really effective. The story itself is based on the famous story where Arnie Johnson had murdered his landlord and cited demonic possession as his reason for killing his landlord. Again, it's up to you whether you believe him or not, whether you believe that demonic possession was at work, or this was just an excuse of a man trying to get out of murder. Again, the choice is up to you whether you believe this or not, but from a movie perspective, based on a true story aspect, was stretched to the realms of fantasy and unbelievability. With the fact is, I'm not really one for giving spoilers, but the enemy was to do with more like Satanists in witchcraft. Like demonic entities, okay, but witchcraft and Satanist, it kind of stretches the realms of believability, and In terms of the villain for the series, The Conjuring 3 had the weakest villain. There was no real motivations, there was no explanations as to why they did what they did. They did try to explain it with a line, the why is irrelevant, but for this being a human antagonist, I would have preferred to kind of know more about them, because in essence, if they were kind of fleshed out, it would have made a real chilling story. But again, it wasn't. It was just they did it because they did it. Also, the legal trials, again, I was kind of intrigued, there's not following the haunted house kind of formula. I thought, oh, is this going to be like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where basically the whole story is told through the trial? So the whole movie is going to be one long legal drama, where aspects of the scares are told through witnesses, testimonies, and prevented evidence. I thought, that would have been really intriguing to see. But again, didn't really do that. It was kind of introduced, but it was kind of like pushed to the side straight away. And it was kind of left to focus on Ed and Lorraine Warren doing their own investigations, which, again, it kind of felt really disappointing, because the character of Arnie Johnson, his fiancée, and the other supporting characters, they didn't really feel fleshed out. And I kind of felt it was a bit disrespectful to the murder victim in some respects, because by all accounts, the real life man was not meant to be a saint, but it kind of justified his killer straight away, and it kind of felt like, well, again, it kind of pushed on he was demonically possessed. I mean, in all essence, The Conjuring 3 is, for me, the weakest of the series. I was actually bored, and for me to actually get bored in a horror movie, it takes a lot. But for The Conjuring 3, I was actually generally bored. It kind of felt like the whole series kind of went from scene to scene to scene, and to the point of it got to the end, and even the ending was kind of a letdown. There was some nods and homages to classic movies, The Exorcist, Jaws, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Shining, and the homages didn't really feel like homages. They kind of felt more like carbon copies, and it kind of felt, no, don't do that. I mean, James Wan made the series, but Michael Chavez, his previous work on The Curse of La Llorona was disappointing, but for The Conjuring 3, it really wasn't a big fit for him, and it wasn't a good one, and I really wanted to like this movie a lot more than I did, but unfortunately for that respect, in terms of the weak jump scares, the wasted plot opportunities, the weakened villain, I've got to stick with a 3 out of 10. And it's a shame, because the first 2 Conjuring movies, as a whole, were classic reinventions of the horror franchise. I mean, I can't say I generally believe all the stories of Ed and Lorraine Warren, but for movies and entertainment purposes, they were generally scary movies. But for The Conjuring 3, it's so disappointing to see a horror franchise like that go down. And I think I've said it before to Mr. Burke and Mr. Myers, as part of the Burke and Hare team, the problem with The Conjuring franchise is it's been defeated by its own success, where, yes, they've made their own cinematic universe, which, congratulations to them, but problem is, though, instead of focusing on the movie at hand, they're always trying to set up another movie. One thing I will say kudos to this one is, they don't try to set up any other sequels, but there is kind of some pointless name drops, like, the Perron family, Annabelle's just mentioned in a casual sentence, and there's a picture of the nun in the background. It's like, well, we don't need that. Just kind of focus on what you've got. I mean, all I can say is, viewer beware, you're in for a disappointing time, and viewer, please, stick to the first Conjuring movie and the second Conjuring movie. As I said, I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I did, and it kind of saddens me to give it such a negative review. Well, as I said, please hit that like and subscribe. You all take care, and you stay spooky now. Goodbye.